Nicholas has weakened, still a tropical storm, but tropical storm force winds are now out of our area. So the tropical storm warning has been canceled. The heavier rains likewise have moved east of the area. So our flash flood watches are canceled as well. We still do have some storm surge flooding ongoing, and we should continue to see improvement during the day. We're really not looking at much, if any, additional rain. Here's a look at the 10 o'clock position of what's left of Tropical Storm Nicholas. The center of circulation actually right in our area on the south side of Harris County. But all the tropical storm force winds are well to the east in these bands you see more toward Louisiana. So that's the reason that the tropical storm warning was dropped for our local area. And you can see the position as it continues to drift fairly slowly, about 6 miles per hour toward the northeast and then more toward the east. Additional rain is expected, but not over our area, more Beaumont on east across Louisiana. Looking back at peak gusts from Nicholas, and you can see some pretty high values here. We had some values around Matagorda Bay, around 77. These are gusts, 77 miles per hour, 81 just offshore, and so in fact we did have hurricane conditions, and a hurricane warning was issued last evening. As we had thought, it could reach Category 1 status, and it did right around landfall. And you can see high gusts in high tropical storm force range extending well east across to Galveston. But the winds were probably a big story for much of the area. You can see peak gusts even across Harris County, sort of in the 45 to 63 mile per hour range. And so the winds caused quite a bit of power outages across all these areas. Looking at the rainfall from gauge measurements along the coast, we had several measurements kind of in the 6 to 8 inch range. We have had a few higher measured values. We're still trying to track down the authenticity of those, but in general, 6 to 8 inches along the coast, and more like 4 to 5 inches over, well, really 3 to 6 inches over Harris County, looking at the Harris County gauge network, even some 7-inch values along Clear Creek. As I said, we still have some residual surge flooding. You can see at the bay entrance, peak values ended up being up around 5 feet above mean lower low water. And those are going to come down gradually through the day. So in areas where we still have water on roads, you should see that dissipate, dry off, and clear off, basically, as we head more toward low tide this evening. And these high tide conditions continued around the bay as well. This may be due to a combination of rainfall and storm surge. You see the Manchester surge values ended up being above 3 feet with water levels closer to 8. Morgan's Point, 5 to 6 feet. So with a surge over 3 feet. So again, we had that minor to moderate coastal flooding along the bays as well. And some of that is still ongoing. But again, should improve by later this afternoon and evening. Eagle Point, same story, around Galveston Bay, some pretty high surge values up around 5 feet at the peak and subsiding from there this morning. Freeport actually in the 5 to 6 foot range above mean lower low water with that greater than 3 foot surge. So high winds and surge did end up being fairly significant along with the rainfall, with mainly coastal areas being impacted. The rainfall did drop off quite a bit as you move inland. And as you might expect with the rainfall where it was, there have been some flooding issues along Clear Creek and some of the bayous in the heavier rain areas. And Katie Landry Guyton and Jeff Lidner are available to sort of give an overview. Like Katie, I'm going to stop the recording now. Actually, I'll keep the recording going. And Katie, I'd like you to give sort of an overview of the rivers and tributaries, and also Jeff Linder can comment on the bayous as well.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thankfully, with most of the heaviest rainfall falling off the coast, we were able to dodge a lot of the potential for river flooding. We did see a lot of rises on our area's rivers and creeks, but most of the rises have actually stayed below action stage. Several locations on the southeastern portion of Harris County did see some decent rises, which Jeff can talk about in just a second. But outside of Harris County, everything has stayed pretty benign, so nothing really to report. All of the forecasts have been updated and returned to 24 hours of rainfall forecast. The only one to mention right now is Clear Creek at Friendswood. It's currently cresting in action stage. But outside of that, if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know.
And Jeff, did you want to say a few words about the bayous? You should be able to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'll touch on mainly Clear Creek. That's where we have our issues from Bay Area Boulevard down through I-45 and then into Clear Lake. And this was a combination of storm surge, especially in Clear Lake. We had about 6.1 feet at our gauge down there, and the rainfall runoff coming down the creek. The good news is it's all falling. It has crested. It is falling. And at the levels that we're at now, this is very minor flooding, no structure flooding. Maybe some low roads near the creek might be impacted. Lower than what we saw last year with Tropical Storm Beta along Clear Creek. So no structure flooding is expected. And then we do have some high water levels still up in Taylor's Bayou up in Shore Acres. Some rainfall-induced flooding there, but the majority of that is also surge, and it gets kind of trapped up on the east side there of 146, and so it's just going to take a little bit of time to get that surge water back out. Everything else looks good. I will mention up in the lower portion of the San Jacinto River, as the winds have kind of swung around to the south and southwest, it's kind of pushed the water up the San Jacinto River this morning, and so we've actually peaked at Rio Villa around 6.5 feet this morning, and so that there is some impacts ongoing up in that area. Mainly roadway and entrances into subdivisions that get impacted at those levels. But all of this should go down, and we'll probably see a quicker reduction as the center gets east and the winds turn around to the west and northwest and kind of help drive some of this water away from southeast Harris County, and they'll kind of help pull everything out pretty quick this afternoon. But overall, not a lot of impacts from flooding. Dan?